Welcome back to the weekly live show. If you're new in this group 2022 and we haven't had the chance to meet yet, you are so very welcome here. My name is Laura Green. I'm a yoga teacher of 12 plus years. I'm based in Southampton, Hampshire. I run a yoga teacher training school and I am a business mentor for yoga teachers, helping people to serve and thrive. My mission is to elevate the standard of teaching in our community and to also elevate how we approach our business so that we can be fulfilled emotionally, spiritually, and of course financially for the life-changing work that you do. So today's topic is how to avoid burnout when growing your yoga business. And you know what? This doesn't just have to be applied to growing your yoga business. This can be applied to any aspects of our life. And this is very much the theme of what I was teaching in class today. And this first sentence is a turn of phrase that actually a friend of mine uses called Megan. And she talks about slowing down to go further. And I think this is so key in January, which especially for yoga teachers, December is a natural kind of slump as classes quieten, new students quieten, and there is this natural lull to our classes in December, which is lovely. It comes at the time when we crave rest. But then, in the yoga world, January is like a bull in the china shop. You know, we have so many more new inquiries, new interests, new classes. So we've kind of been slowing down. And then January can feel like a smack in the face with inquiries coming at us at all different angles and the feelings that come up in January as well. So I think it's really important at this time to slow down, to go further. And if that phrase, that sentence isn't kind of resonating with you, I want you to think of it like this. Imagine there is a sprinter and there is a long distance runner. Okay. So what does a long distance runner and a sprinter do significantly differently? A long distance runner slows down in comparison to the sprinter to get further. You know, if a 100-meter sprinter was to set out on a marathon at their sprint pace, they would burn out. They wouldn't be there at the finish line. And it doesn't matter how amazing an athlete they are, how focused, how determined, how deliberate they are. They just came out the gate at the wrong pace. And building a yoga business, sustaining a yoga business will never be a sprint. You know the deal. There's no such thing as an overnight success. There's no such thing as click your fingers and there's a magically full class. Things build slowly with time, consistency, and patience. So we are definitely the long distance runners. So we need to slow down, to go farther, to have energy, to sustain our classes, to sustain our own health, to be there week in, week out for our students. So I want you to think of yourself more akin to the long distance runner. Slow down to go further. So in practical sense, how do we actually do that? How do we actually do that? The first thing I would tell you is to think about being project-based, rather than trying to do everything at the same time. Focus your work into projects. So you'll hear me also say this as one class at a time. So say for instance, you're a new teacher. Think about establishing one class, fill it up. When it's self-sustaining, add another. Say you have been teaching for a few years and you have a handful of classes. They're doing okay, but they're not all full. The tendency, I've got really itchy eye. The tendency is to focus on, oh my God, I've got to fill up all of my classes. I've got to do all of this marketing. But especially if your classes are in different locations, different days, different times, different styles, you can't focus on them all at the same time. So say one class has 5 spaces in it and another class has 6 spaces in it. Choose to take on filling one as a project, and in the meantime, just be content with that other class not to be full. So focus on, say for instance, your 550 class in Bedford. Focus on that, all your energies, and just be content with whatever is naturally occurring in your other classes. Once you've focused on, say, your Bedford class for 1 month, you've seen a few more students come, it's increased, let that one look after itself, and then go, okay, I'm going to pick up my class in Northampton and focus on that one. So see your work as project-based. And then this could be whether you're doing workshops, retreats, teacher trainings, anything else. You've got to be happy for some parts of your business just to self-sustain so you can focus on a project. A really helpful way to be project-based is to split your year out into quarters. And this will be something that's very familiar to you, but you don't see it worked on in a yoga business that way. It's very much kind of corporate approach of having quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. So it doesn't resonate. You can change that to winter, spring, autumn, summer, but split your year out into quarters and know what are you going to focus on in different quarters. So right now it's January. I'm predominantly focused on my classes, my bread and butter classes. And then as we come into February, because I'm working more monthly, I'll be focusing on getting my book over the publishing deadline. But I know in my head, I'm really excited about this philosophy and movement course I got started. But that is quarter 2. It's for spring. So I know in my head, Laura, don't get distracted by that philosophy and movement course. That's next quarter. Okay? And you can visibly split your calendar, your diary, a journal out like this. And when you have ideas, when things distract you, when you get that shiny object syndrome, you can just assign things to other quarters and stay on project right now. Yes, I will focus on getting a day retreat off the ground. But I'm going to do that in the summer. So right now I'm focusing on building up my classes, as it's from my classes that I'll fill the day retreat. So really start to think project-based rather than, oh, I've got to do something on my classes, I've got to do something on my workshops. Oh yeah, I've got to start looking for a venue for my day retreats. That leads to overwhelm. Overwhelm leads to burnout. So work project-based. Plan the year out into quarters and assign projects to different quarters. And this is a kind of side note on it. Keep an ideas diary or post-it notes or journal, old diary, because ideas come into us and often it can be a good idea, just not at the right time. And we worry about losing the ideas, about forgetting something. Just write it down. And then when you feel, oh, I've got the capacity, I've finished this project, I've got the capacity to work on more, go back to your ideas book and see if that idea is still resonating. If after it's been sat in a book for a while, it's still resonating, it's a good indication that it's a good idea. Or if you look back at that and think, what was I thinking? You know you've had clarity from time and it probably was a bad idea. Okay. If you have monthly events in your business, so do you do a monthly workshop? Do you do a monthly restorative class? I do a monthly kirtan, or the monthly yoga teacher collaborative. Do you have something that is monthly in your calendar? If so, plan out and book your venues for the whole year. Okay? You might have done that already. So for instance, for my kirtan, I have my hall booked for the whole year once a month. Then give your students the opportunity to book the whole year's worth. Rather than just releasing the dates one at a time, do both. Go, kirtan is going to be once a month for the rest of 2022. give your students the dates for all of the year and invite them to book the whole thing. This will make sure they have pre-booked appointments for themselves to come to your delicious events. That helps them punctuate their month with rest. It can minimize your workload because you might find that event sells out for the year in one marketing run, as opposed to it being a monthly chore to market that event. Now, what I will do when I do this is I'll create two kind of booking options. I go a year's worth of kirtan once a month for X price and give a student the opportunity to just press book once. Or there'll be single listings if a student doesn't want to come to them all, and that price might just be a little bit more expensive. So there is a discount if you book the whole year. Same with this philosophy and movement course I've mentioned. It could easily be a once a month workshop on philosophy and yoga. But I've chosen to package it as a year-long course with a once a month workshop. And I only have to market that once. Then people will book the year, we'll have this container, and then my energy is being spent on producing the content because I only had to do the marketing once. So really look at that, those of you that have monthly or every 6 week repeating events. Is there a way that you could turn it into a 6 month or year-long container and give students the opportunity to book the whole thing? Okay. Next point, rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. From working with yoga teachers for many years, I know that we are a creative bunch. We get all sorts of ideas and we deliver something, say a workshop on the koshas. And then we move on to something else, and on to something else, and on to something else. Can you rinse and repeat things? So look back at your diary from last year, the year before, especially if you've been teaching longer than COVID. Look back at the things you were doing before COVID and see what of those events could you put on exactly the same again. You know, you can grab out the lesson plans you did last time. You can grab out the handouts you gave last time. You can also just find the marketing you did last time and update the date and the price or the venue if that's changed. So rinse and repeat. Not only does this give you the opportunity to put on another event, building on the work you've done before, it gives you the time to improve things that you think could be done a little better. And students that missed it because they simply couldn't do the date, gives them an opportunity. Or students that want to repeat something and do it again. So rinse and repeat, as well as then adding in the occasional little new thing. But definitely rinse and repeat. I had this conversation with a one-to-one mentee yesterday who had, before COVID, run an amazing series of 4 workshops for yoga teachers on how to use a singing bowl, how to use a gong, how to work with your voice, and how to work with rhythm. It only ran once, and we all got a bit derailed by COVID. So you just need to put that series of 4 workshops on again. You have the material, you have the marketing material. Rinse and repeat. Okay? Rinsing and repeating can also come into your marketing as well. And in marketing, it's called repurposing. So if you have created something, done something, see how you can repurpose rather than always having to restart again. A very easy example of this is in planning to talk to you today, I have written out a list of the 13 points I want to cover to keep me on track talking to you. But then that's obviously already written out. I just need to copy and paste it, and that's either a newsletter or a blog post. You know, I need to download this live video, upload it to YouTube, and maybe it goes in an email or a blog post. So where are you doing work that you can reuse? Computer's just turned off, I can't see my list. Okay, that you can reuse. So that is called repurposing. So if you've created a meditation for someone, could you put that into a course? Could you put that on your Google My Business listing? Can you put that on your website? Can you put that on your blog? Can you embed it in a newsletter? So if you're doing one piece of work, you're getting more value out of it rather than always starting again. Progress over perfection, okay? And not being a completer finisher. Now this sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but as a yoga teacher, and I've said this before, you have many tasks you have to complete. You have to do your general admin of handling student inquiries, booking in, dealing with payments, just general admin and customer service. You have to do finance, invoicing people, paying invoices, reconciling your accounts on a monthly basis. You have to do marketing, so writing social media posts, writing email posts, preparing graphics, and other things, lesson planning, taking photos, catching up with your email, replying to students on Facebook, on Instagram, in WhatsApp. It is not possible to do all of the tasks a yoga teacher has to do perfectly and to be finished. It's not possible. So instead of perfect, we think progress over perfection. So it doesn't matter if that newsletter copy I've written is perfect. It needs to be short and real. Next time I write a newsletter, it might be a little bit better. Next time it might be a little bit better. When you're planning the content for a course, the first time you run it is not going to be as good as the second time you run it. So we're aiming to make progress and not be perfect. The same with the completer finisher. You aren't going to finish a task. You aren't necessarily going to get to the end of your email. You're not necessarily going to get all of that marketing copy written, all of those graphics written. So instead, it's useful to time block. So to think, I am going to answer emails for 20 minutes and then close your email. Okay? Then I'm going to respond to social media comments for 10 minutes and then close your social media. I am going to write as many newsletters and social media posts to be scheduled as I can in the next hour or 2 hours, and then close the task. And again, like being project-based, it's very important to be task-based. Otherwise, what happens is you're trying to write your newsletter and a student WhatsApps you. You then reply to the WhatsApp. You come back to writing your newsletter and a student sends you a messenger. Or you're dealing with all of the WhatsApp messages and an email comes in. And we end up being pulled from task to task to task. This leads to the feeling of overwhelm that leads to burnout. And it's not good for our mind, swapping from task to task. So focus on the task at hand. Right now, I'm doing all of my invoices. Right now, I'm doing all of my accounts, and I'm not replying to a message whilst I'm doing my accounts. So close all other apps, browsers, everything else, and be task-based and give it an allotted time, because you won't finish it. I'm doing this for an hour, and then I will move on to the next allotted task. And when you're task-based, link all of your tasks together. A silly example of this is paying invoices. So as yoga teachers, we need to pay venue hire invoices. Maybe you have to pay other invoices that come in. Mine are predominantly venues, but maybe you have other invoices that come in. Don't pay the invoice when it comes in. Okay? I pay invoices generally week 3 or week 4 in the month, but invoices will just wait in my inbox until I sit there and I do all of my invoices and payments in one go. So then, I pay all of my venues, add that to my spreadsheet, save them all in one go. because you think, you need to open the bank account, you need to sign in, you need to open your spreadsheet. If you're doing that each time for each invoice, there's a lot of wasted time there. So group tasks together. Another example of this is photography. We do need to take photos of ourselves to help market our classes and to show up on social media visibly as ourselves. Not all days do we feel confident to take photos. That day you wake up and actually you feel a little bit better to take photographs. And I take most of mine as selfies with a tripod and a remote clicker. If you're in a photographic mood, spend an hour, 2 hours doing it, okay? But change your clothing so it looks like you've taken these photos over a period of time. So rather than every week going, I need to take some photos to help advertise my classes coming up, just once a month, get 3 different clothes out, get your selfie stick out, a remote clicker, and take some photos. Link tasks together. Be project-based, be task-based. So the next are just a couple of little points. When it comes to marketing or communicating with your students in the form of email, newsletters, and or social media, short and real is the key. You are busy, other people are busy. If they say a big post, a big newsletter, they're not so likely to read it. Short but real, short but deep, short but insightful. So we're not trading quality for brevity, but packaging things up smaller. So, I'm saying here, I'm giving you like 13 different ways to avoid overwhelm. If I wanted to put that into an email campaign, I could put that one at a time. Or a social media post, it could be a series, one at a time, rather than this long essay about 13 different ways to avoid overwhelm, which you're getting verbally now. Okay, so break things down into smaller chunks. It takes you less time, gives you more content, and it makes it more digestible for your students. And then the other 2 points I wanted to cover are really self-care based. So please, pre-book time off and non-negotiable free time. So I have my diary right here. Okay. So this is my planner for the year. Ooh, you see these green lines? These are non-negotiable weekends off. So if somebody asks me to do something against a time when there's a green line, if I don't have that green line there, in the moment when, say, Louisa says, hey, Laura, do you want to come and teach a workshop with me? I'd go, oh, that weekend's available, yes. Whereas if I open my diary and see there's a green line or it's marked out, I know instantly, no, Laura, your better self booked that time out for rest. Do not accept a commitment then. Okay? So I want you to go through your diary either for this quarter or the whole year and actually book out non-negotiable time off. When it doesn't matter how juicy the opportunity is, no, I'm really sorry, I'm not available then. And I often think, if somebody asks me to do something and I'm not available, I'm not meant to be doing it. I leave that to the universe to manage that element of my diary. So pre-mark time off and non-negotiable free time, and proudly state your boundaries. And lastly, Susie just put, I also do booked time off in advance. That's really good, Susie. Lastly, build your friendships for cover teachers, okay? I think every yoga teacher should have a close family of like-minded yoga teachers in your area where you have each other's back, okay? I don't do cover teaching because my schedule is too full. But I do have times in my diary where I'm not teaching. For instance, I don't teach a class on a Thursday night. If anyone in my nearest and dearest circle, Lauren, Veronique, Gemma, said, Laura, I'm having a hard day, I can't teach tonight, I would drop everything and cover that class. Sometimes we have health concerns. Sometimes we have things going on with our family members that might mean at short notice we have to break glass in case of emergency. So I'm not talking about, the cover teacher you'd go to for, I'm on holiday, I'm away, but just have a break glass in case of emergency. Like I know my friend Lauren doesn't teach on a Wednesday night, okay? By choice, but I know if something happened and I needed that time off to break glass in case of emergency, she would do it for me. I want you to make these friendships so that if you're like, right, I've got to put my self-care first, I'm feeling burnout, don't go, oh, but I'll let my students down, I can't, I'll just go and do it. No, have these pre-agreed friendships that if I need to break glass in case of emergency, will you cover my class for me? And know who could do that for every one of your classes. Okay? And yoga teacher friendships are the best. Go and make some. Okay, so let's just do a real quick recap. Slow down to go further. Be project-based. Focus on one offering at a time. Split your year into months or quarters and assign projects dotted throughout the year. Don't have to do it all now. Keep an ideas book so you don't lose those ideas. If you run monthly, 6 weekly events, give your students the opportunity to book them in bulk. Rinse and repeat things. Reuse your lesson plans, playlists, and the marketing. Progress over perfection. Be task-based. Group your tasks together. Keep your writings, your sharings on social media short, but real. Real depth, real insight, but short, digestible. Pre-book time off. And have your circle of friends who you can break class in case of emergency if you need that time off. So that was a long list, and I'm sure a couple of things in there will have resonated. So let's make a commitment. If you're watching me live on the replay, I want you to type now. Which 1, 2, or 3 of the points today resonated and are you going to do? There's no reason we can't all agree to, I'm going to open my diary and book time off. So please, keep yourself accountable. Let me feel that this was purposeful and a good use of my time by telling me in the comments, what are you going to do to avoid burnout as you grow your business this year? Thank you for joining me. I'm pretty sure that next week is a guest interview about honing and refining your Sanskrit. So I will see you soon. I'm here if you need anything in the meantime. Much love. Bye.